My heart stopped. That was almost my entire life savings, money I carefully put aside over 7 years of working double shifts at the dental clinic. But I hadn't authorized any transfer. Dr. Anderson, my patient's concerned voice snapped me back to reality. Is everything okay? Just fine, I managed, trying to keep my voice steady. Let me just finish up here. My name is Olivia Anderson, and at 32, I thought I had finally gotten my life in order. After putting myself through dental school, building my practice, and saving every extra penny, I was finally ready to open my own pediatric dental clinic. The loan application was already in process, with my savings meant to be the down payment. As soon as my last patient left, I called the bank. After 20 minutes of verification questions, the representative confirmed my worst fear. The transfer had been authorized using my correct online banking credentials. The transfer was made to Margaret Wilson's account, she said. My mother-in-law, the woman who had never forgiven me for stealing her precious son, and not being good enough for the Wilson family name. With trembling fingers, I called Margaret. She answered on the first ring, as if she'd been waiting for my call. Olivia, dear, her voice dripped with false sweetness. I was wondering when you'd notice. Margaret, what have you done? That's my entire savings. Oh, don't be so dramatic. Consider it a family tax, she laughed, the sound making my skin crawl. After all, you've been living in our family's guest house for 3 years, barely paying any rent. This just makes us even. My blood boiled. The family's guest house was a run-down cottage on their property that Jake and I had completely renovated ourselves. We paid for every repair, every upgrade, while Margaret kept insisting we were getting a family discount on rent. That money was for my clinic. My voice cracked. How did you even get access to my account? Your dear husband should really be more careful with where he keeps his passwords, she said smugly. Jake's always been terrible at technology. Like father, like son, I suppose. Jake, my husband of 5 years, who still couldn't say no to his mother, who still kept all his passwords in a little notebook because he couldn't remember them. A notebook that had been suspiciously missing last week when Margaret dropped by for one of her surprise visits. Does Jake know about this? I demanded. Oh, he knows I was planning to teach you a lesson about family obligations, she said airily, though he might be a bit surprised at the method. But really, Olivia, did you think we'd let you waste all that money on some silly children's dental practice? The Wilsons have a reputation to maintain. I ended the call, my hands shaking with rage. Jake wasn't answering his phone, probably in surgery at the hospital where he worked as an anesthesiologist. But his silence spoke volumes. He'd known his mother was planning something and hadn't warned me. I sat in my office, staring at the plans for my pediatric clinic spread across my desk. The bright, welcoming waiting room designed to put nervous kids at ease. The special chairs with built-in TV screens to distract them during procedures. The separate area for children with sensory issues. Everything I dreamed of creating, now potentially ruined because my mother-in-law decided I didn't deserve success. My phone buzzed with a text from Margaret. Don't bother going to the police. They'll never believe you over a respected Wilson family member. Besides, he gave me access, remember? Another buzz. And don't even think about divorce. Our prenup is ironclad. You'll leave with nothing. I smiled grimly at her texts. Margaret had always underestimated me, seen me as the scholarship kid who'd somehow trapped her son into marriage. What she didn't know was that I'd learned from watching her manipulate everyone around her for years. I'd been preparing for something like this. Opening my laptop, I pulled up a folder labeled Insurance. Inside were screenshots of every suspicious conversation, every threatening email, every manipulative text Margaret had sent over the years. I had recordings of her friendly visits that were actually thinly veiled attempts to sabotage my career, and most importantly, I had proof that she'd been planning this theft for months. Margaret thought she had won, that she'd finally put me in my place, but she'd forgotten one crucial detail. I wasn't just some naive girl anymore. I was a professional who'd fought for everything I had, who'd learned to document every interaction because I knew this day would come. I picked up my phone and dialed a number I'd saved months ago, just in case. Hello, Mr. Patterson. This is Olivia Anderson. Remember when you said to call if I ever needed legal help with my mother-in-law? I think it's time. As I hung up, another text from Margaret arrived. Family dinner tomorrow night. Don't even think about making excuses. and wear something presentable for once. I typed back a simple "wouldn't miss it" and started making calls. Margaret wanted to play games. Fine, but she was about to learn that I knew how to play them too. 1 week. That's all I needed to set everything in motion. Margaret thought she held all the cards, but she had no idea what was coming. After all, I hadn't spent 3 years married to her son without learning a few things about the Wilson family secrets. Let her gloat for now. In 7 days, she'd learn exactly why you should never underestimate a woman with nothing left to lose. The Wilson family mansion loomed before me as I pulled into the circular driveway for dinner. Through the large bay windows, I could see Margaret holding court in the formal dining room, probably bragging about her latest charity board position or country club drama. I smoothed down my designer dress. The one Margaret had once sneered was trying too hard, and checked my lipstick in the rearview mirror. Everything had to be perfect tonight. I needed Margaret comfortable, confident in her victory. Jake was waiting at the front door, looking uncomfortable in his suit. "Liv, we need to talk," he started, reaching for my arm. I stepped past him, my heels clicking on the marble floor. "Yes, we certainly do, but not now." The past week had been enlightening. While Jake had been sleeping in the guest room, unable to meet my eyes, I'd been busy. Mr. Patterson hadn't just been helpful. He'd been revelatory. "Margaret, darling." I called out, embracing my mother-in-law with practiced warmth. "That Hermes scarf is stunning." "New purchase?" She preened, adjusting the silk at her throat. "Just a little treat to myself. We all deserve to splurge sometimes, don't we?" I caught the pointed look she threw at Jake. He shifted uncomfortably, tugging at his collar. Good, let him squirm. Dinner was a masterclass in passive-aggressive warfare. Margaret dominated the conversation, dropping subtle digs about my humble background and how some people just didn't understand family loyalty. "Oh, speaking of family," I interjected during dessert, "I've been meaning to ask. How's the foundation doing, Margaret?" Her fork paused halfway to her mouth. "The foundation?" "The Wilson Family Foundation," I clarified, taking a delicate sip of wine. "The one that handles all the family's charitable giving." I was just curious about the annual audit. The color drained from Margaret's face. Beside me, Jake stiffened. "That's family business," Margaret snapped. "Something you clearly don't understand." I smiled, setting down my wine glass. "Actually, I understand perfectly, especially after speaking with Mr. Patterson. You remember him. The foundation's former legal counsel." The silence that fell over the table was deafening. Margaret's hands began to shake slightly as she set down her fork. "Mr. Patterson has been retired for years," she said dismissively, but I caught the tremor in her voice. "Oh, he's still quite sharp," I assured her, "especially about certain creative accounting practices, like using the foundation to hide personal expenses or transferring large sums of money without proper documentation." Jake's head snapped up. "Mother? What is she talking about?" Margaret's face had turned an interesting shade of gray. "Nothing, darling. Just Olivia being dramatic as usual." "Really?" I pulled out my phone, scrolling through my photos. "So these bank statements showing foundation money being used for your jewelry, your vacations, your gambling debts, those are all dramatic too. Where did you get those?" Margaret hissed. "Let's just say Mr. Patterson kept very detailed records. He felt quite guilty about helping cover up your misuse of charitable funds all these years. When I explained how you'd stolen my savings, he was very eager to make amends." Jake was staring at his mother, realization dawning on his face. "The foundation money. That's why Dad left, isn't it? He found out?" Margaret's composure cracked. "Your father didn't understand. The foundation's money is family money. It's charitable donation money," I corrected. "Money that was supposed to help people, not fund your lifestyle. The IRS tends to frown on that sort of thing." "You wouldn't dare," Margaret snarled. "You'll destroy this family." "No, Margaret. You did that when you decided to steal from me." I stood up, smoothing my dress. "You have 24 hours to return my money. Every penny, or Mr. Patterson's records go to the IRS and the State Attorney General's office." "Olivia." Jake finally spoke, his voice hoarse. "Did you know about this? About the foundation?" I turned to my husband, seeing him clearly for the first time in years. "No, not until your mother decided to teach me a lesson about family. Funny how karma works, isn't it?" Margaret's perfectly manicured hands gripped the table. This is blackmail. This is justice, I corrected. And unlike you, I have proof of everything. 24 hours, Margaret? Tick-tock. I walked out of the dining room, pausing in the doorway. Oh, and one more thing. I'm keeping screenshots of our banking records. If anything happens to that money before I get it back, the authorities will be very interested in how it disappeared. Jake followed me outside, grabbing my arm. Wait, you can't just drop this bomb and leave. I gently removed his hand. Actually, I can. And while we're on the subject of bombs, I've filed for divorce. What? Liv, please, we can work this out. Can we? You knew she was planning something. You knew she had my passwords, and you did nothing. I didn't think she'd actually. Exactly. You never think she'll actually go too far. But she always does, and you always choose her side. I reached into my purse and handed him an envelope. These are the divorce papers. I suggest you read them carefully, especially the part about what happens if your mother doesn't return my money. His face crumpled. I love you. Liv. No, Jake, you love the idea of me, the wife who puts up with your mother's abuse, who sacrifices everything to keep the peace. But that woman's gone, and you helped kill her. I got into my car, watching in the rearview mirror as Jake stood in the driveway looking lost. Behind him, through the dining room window, I could see Margaret frantically making phone calls. Let her panic. Let her try to find a way out of this mess. She had 24 hours to learn that some lessons cut both ways, and this lesson was just beginning. The next morning, my phone rang exactly at 9 a.m. Margaret's number. I let it go to voicemail, sipping my coffee as I reviewed the divorce papers with my lawyer via Zoom. She's been calling nonstop, Jake texted. Please answer her. I ignored him too. The ball was in their court, and I wasn't about to make this easier for them. At 11:43 a.m., the bank notification popped up. Transfer received. $175,000 from account ending in 4872. Seconds later, another notification. Transfer received. $25,000 from account ending in 4872. I smiled. The extra $25,000 was a nice touch, probably Margaret's attempt to buy my silence. She still didn't understand that this wasn't about money. My phone buzzed again. Margaret. Fine, I answered. You've got your money back. With interest, I see. Now destroy those documents and we can put this unfortunate incident behind us. Actually, I said, keeping my voice level. Those documents are staying exactly where they are. Consider them my insurance policy. You little, she sputtered. I gave you back your money. Yes, you did. After committing theft and financial fraud. But this isn't just about the money, Margaret. This is about years of manipulation, of treating me like I was beneath you. I am trying to make this right. No, you're trying to protect yourself. There's a difference. I pause, letting my words sink in. Here's what's going to happen. You're going to step down from the foundation's board. Quietly, you're going to stop interfering in my life. And you're going to accept that Jake and I are getting divorced. Never, she hissed. Then I guess the IRS will be very interested in those records. Your choice. The line went silent for a moment. You've changed, she finally said. No, Margaret, I just stopped letting you define who I am. After hanging up, I drove to the bank and transferred the money to a new account, one without any connection to the Wilsons. Then I headed to the real estate office where I'd been secretly meeting with an agent. 2 hours later, I signed the lease on my new dental clinic space. It wasn't the building I'd originally planned on, but it was better. Closer to the hospital, with more parking and better visibility. Jake was waiting at the cottage when I got home. Mother resigned from the foundation, he said quietly. Dad called. He's coming back to take over. I nodded, unlocking the door. Good. Liv, please, I know I messed up. But I love you. I turned to face him. You know what I realized this week? Love shouldn't require constant vigilance. I shouldn't have to protect myself from the people who claim to love me. I'll do better, he promised. I'll stand up to her. You're missing the point, Jake. You shouldn't have to do better. You should have done right by me from the start. I handed him a business card. This is my new office address. Send the signed divorce papers there. 6 months later, my pediatric dental clinic opened its doors. The waiting room was exactly as I'd imagined. Bright, welcoming, and filled with happy kids. Jake had signed the divorce papers without contesting anything. His father, back in charge of the foundation, had made a generous donation to my clinic's program for underprivileged children. Margaret? She'd moved to Florida, supposedly for her health. The last I heard, she was telling anyone who would listen that she'd chosen to step down from the foundation to focus on personal growth. I kept the documents about her financial misdeeds safely stored with Mr. Patterson. Not because I plan to use them, but because some lessons need to be remembered. Yesterday, I received a letter from a family lawyer I'd never met. Inside was a note from Jake's father. I should have done this years ago. The foundation is in better hands now. Keep making a difference. Attached was proof that he'd established a permanent grant in my clinic's name. Funds that would help provide dental care to children who couldn't afford it. Funds that Margaret could never touch. Sometimes the best revenge isn't about getting even. It's about building something better from the ashes of what was destroyed. Margaret tried to tear me down, but instead, she gave me the push I needed to build something stronger. And that's a lesson worth learning.